gentlemen, Miss Stacie Odeneal.
Thank you so much. Seeing a lot of familiar faces around here. Some newer than others. Some long time. I have to disagree with Terry just for a second, not to be rude. But Terry said the hardest thing to do was to get up here and make you laugh. And it is difficult. But it is much harder to try and convince a judge why your client has meth in her bra. Hands down, much harder. I'm here. I'm a lawyer. I'm also a mom. I'm from Lawrence County. I'd like to give a shout out to my good buddy, Anthony. Anthony was kind enough to tell everyone that I would be funny, like really super funny, like really high bar funny. So thanks for that no pressure. Appreciate that, pal. It's awesome. I'm here because I'm trying to explore and broaden my horizons. I enjoy my time as a lawyer, but it is hard to represent some clients. The paternity folks, it's not a lie. Like there's a lot of problems sometimes in paternity cases. Recently I had a case I knew I had won when the judge says, ma'am, I need to know why you chose your dress. And she says, what do you mean? The judge looks at her and says, that dress is incredibly inappropriate for court. Why did you choose that? And this other person, who's unrepresented, by the way, says, well, it has long sleeves. And the judge looks at her and says, but it doesn't have a bottom. Okay, my odds are looking good right now. I'm just going to sit down and see where this takes us. Ultimately, I won that case, and the woman was very upset by the decision and started explaining to us that the decision was unfair because she had a hemorrhoid so big, she had not been able to poop for a while. That's a true story. That's not a joke. That's verbatim the words that came out of her mouth. Also, good sign that I'm going to continue to win this case. Not to wish you ill, but obviously an appeal period is probably out of the question if you're having these health problems. What I regret about that case is that I didn't turn to the judge and say, I think we should maybe look at perjury. We can clearly see hemorrhoids are not a problem for her. I'm here. Last time I shared with you that I went into law to shut down Monsanto. I've not been entirely successful with that endeavor. So I went into child welfare law. I do a lot of adoptions. I do a lot of child welfare for kids who are abused or neglected. I do custody work, that sort of thing. Super rewarding, super rewarding. It's also hard to leave your work behind at the office, which is how I ended up with 3 children in my home. I also explained that my husband had had a vasectomy at some point. And there were some people that were concerned maybe I stepped over a privacy line there. I just want to be clear that I asked my husband if I could talk about his vasectomy on a stage with a microphone in my hand, and he said, you might as well use it. I'm not getting any use out of it. I have 3 children, ages 7, 2, and 3. We had a 7-year-old for a long time, and that was cool. She's self-sufficient. She was quiet when you needed her to be. She was engaging when you needed her to be, which misled me. It was terrible. So when the 2 and 3-year-old became available, and I talked to Jesus and said, I just can't wait to see the home that you find for them. They're special kids. Let me back up. My friend calls me and says, got these 2 kids. I think they've been abused. We need to figure out what we need to do. I said, I'll just be right over. I'll be right over, and we'll figure this out together. I walked into her house. She has 5 children from 2 to 6, and they are running laps around her living room. And I said, nope, I'm out. I'll call you, and we'll talk about this later, okay? So I called, talking to Jesus. Love these 2 kids. I just can't wait. Jesus told me, good, I'm glad you feel that way. I think it's your house. So I come in and I announced to my husband, who had had a surgical procedure to avoid the question of children coming to his home, that I felt like we needed to take in these 2 children. And he said, Jesus ain't telling me that at all. Jesus telling me no thank you. Jesus is telling me you talk again, but don't you dare walk in with those children. It's like, well, we'll just revisit this issue later. So a couple of days passed, he softened. He realized that life was not going to get any easier if we weren't able to reach an agreement. So he was at work, and one day they drop off children with car seats and bags. That's how I prefer to have children. I need them to come within about a 45-minute window. I need them to have food in their hand. and preferably with a bag of toys and maybe a bath. So if you could just get all that handled, that would be super. Also, I need you to be able to eat on your own. I forget sometimes. If you'll look at my spring Lowe's bill and the volume of dead plants in my front yard, I think you'll see, babies are not for me. That's like, I need you to be able to at least piffle around until you find some peanut butter or something. So you just can make it. If you can just make it till I remember, we're cool. So they come over, ages 2, 2.5, something around there. This one came, the youngest was 1.5. She has a name. I should stop calling her it. She has a name. We call her Nana. Her brother, Jaynes, is now 3, 13 months apart. My husband's like, you're insane. It's like, no, I'm a lawyer. It's fine. If I can handle people with meth in their bra, children should be okay. So it took a very short amount of time for me to start calling them the pirates. They're my junior pirates. I call them that because they like to be on a boat. Sometimes they're hard to understand, and most of the time they steal stuff. Sometimes it's something as simple as a coin or chapstick. Other times it's your will to live. But it fits. It fits my sweet babies. We've had them in our home now for 13 months. That may not even be right. I don't even know. They've been around a long time. They seem to call our home house. I think they're comfortable with us. We have not lost them yet. But it's hard to find that work-life balance. Moms, do you feel me? That it's difficult sometimes to find that getaway and private time? It's not the bathroom. It's not the car with the doors locked. It's not anywhere, really. So I found the perfect spot, root canals. If you'll just think about it, nobody's going to call you when you're numb in the mouth and you tell them, I'm having a root canal. Nobody's going to bother you. If you say, I'm having a pedicure, people will call. If you say, I have to have dental surgery, they're going to leave you alone. So I'm scheduled like one every 6 months until my youngest turns 16. I don't know how many teeth it's going to take, but I think we'll make it through. I learned that all of the things you say about parenting before were stupid. Like, just don't pretend that you know what you're doing. It's not until you have the child puking in your floor at 2 a.m. that you're like, oh, I was terribly wrong about all of this. When our oldest child, Maddie, first came to us, it was very important to me that I don't lie to her. I mean, she's adopted. I want you to know that you can trust me. I'm going to be honest with you about your birth story, and I have been. What I didn't realize is that lying is an integral part of parenting. Specialized and specific trauma is the only way we're going to make it to 18. So my child, the oldest, Maddie, she also has a name, by the way. Maddie turned, 5 or 6, and we were at the Mexican joint in Lawrenceburg. And she apparently found something that was red on the ground of the parking lot, like not even at the table. I'm walking across this path where cars and people walk, and I've found something colorful. Let me eat it. So I turn around, like, what have you got in your mouth? She's like, candy. Where did you get that? She's like, there, next to like a pile of like empty beer cans and a cigarette butt. I'm like, I can only assume it's like a lower tab or something terrible. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not gonna panic. We're gonna go with the flow. So a few minutes later, she's like, my mouth hurts. I'm like, 'cause you ate that. I mean, we're just gonna have to pray you don't lose a tongue. I don't know. It's not looking good. Does your tongue feel thick? She's like, it is. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, I guess we can Google when we get home, fake tongues. I don't know what to do here. I don't know, but let's not eat things off the floor anymore. I may or may not have suggested that people don't go to first grade if they eat boogers. I specifically said, I don't know. So before you get real judgy, that's not a solid scientific fact. Thank you for your time. I'm Stacie Odeneal.
That was wonderful, wonderful. Stacie Odeneal.